Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to Tousi TV. We have some exclusive story, a Tousi TV exclusive, as we were approached this week by a whistleblower from the Metropolitan Police. We have some information about how the Metropolitan Police operate when it comes to countering the so-called pro-Palestinian protests, but of course it's mostly the Islamists and the far left. In this video we have some documents. Some confidential documents that have now been leaked to us by a police officer inside the Met, or someone who works for the Metropolitan Police, if I be precise. And we are going to be discussing all that right here on this channel. Now, before we start and give you guys all the information, don't forget the 5 days. We have 5 days to go to get to Manchester. I'm not going to walk. We're going to walk for 5 days to get there. 7 p.m, 13th of March, we have our 400,000 subscribers party and an event where we're going to have a special guest and me. We're going to make speeches. We're going to talk to you guys if you want to come and meet us. The link is in the description. Book your tickets immediately. Now, let's get on with the show because it's actually getting a serious situation now when it comes to the weekly protests in London. And of course, every single day we are having hateful rhetoric against not just the Jews but also Christians from the actual militants on the streets, but also sometimes the police themselves, because the police are too busy not just policing our Facebook posts and social media posts in general, but also Christian preachers. They arrest them if they're on the street, but if you're a Muslim praying on the street, you're fine. There's a bit of an hypocrisy, we know that. But this video, which is about the whistleblower that's given us now exclusive information and confidential information from the Met, the guidelines, the new guidelines that the Met have been giving to the officers when they go out on the streets, let's just say, at best, it is stupid. The whole thing is stupid because most of it is common sense. And they don't have common sense at the leadership of the Met. Let me tell you what we were told by this whistleblower that came to Tousi TV from the Met. Basically, I work for the Metropolitan Police and have been working for them for a long time, but now I am fed up with the two-tier policing. Our police officers are being given some dumb guidance on how to tackle these Islamic extremists. And of course, it's given us some of their screenshots of this document. It is a little bit weird. This guidance is supposed to be tackling the Islamists and the far left, right? Just, you know that. Saturdays, when they come out against Israel, against the Jews. It starts by saying hate crimes, Islamophobia. That's the... You are tackling Islamism. You're worried about the rise of Islamophobia. Officers can be abused at protests. Oh, glad you know that. Based upon their perceived race or religion. This is a hate crime like any other, right? So I was assuming they're talking about Christians and Jews, right? At these protests, the officers. No, Muslim officers, officers whom the crowd perceive as being Muslim, may be subjected to abuse by the protests. Okay. They are now talking about the counter-protests, by the way. The rise of far-right, which we're still waiting for, because apparently there's a far-right groups, very organized, but they've just been very lazy at organizing counter-protests. So, yeah, if you're a Muslim police officer, ooh, be careful. In addition, there may be right-wing anti-Muslim crime directed at members of the public. What does that even mean? This must be treated seriously as hate crime. Seriously. But if the other side does hate speech or whatever you call it to Jews and Christians, it's fine, it's just free speech, right? It's completely stupid. It's dangerous. This is what you're doing. So the guidelines, these leaked documents that we have for you guys now, is not, well, partly is dumb, as the police officer said, but part of it is just complete idiocy because it's double standard. Again, hate crime, second page. Islamophobia, again. It can involve, but not limited to, obviously referring to Muslims as terrorists. Well, why would you do that? Physical or verbal attacks. Words can hurt on Muslims expressing their religious identity. But I don't know why it's okay to do it against the Jews. I don't understand. Or Christians. And obviously different examples. Also defacing or damaging mosques and other Islamic places of worship, and chants to death to Arabs. But the other side can do death to America, death to Britain. That's allowed. It's okay, guys. Don't worry about that. Then we got the Section 13, of course, of Terrorism Act 2000. This is obvious. So this part is just stupid. This is where it's dumb. They are treating the police officers, either they're treating the police officers that they have as idiots, or they are recruiting idiots that they have to, remind them of, don't forget when you go out there, terrorism is bad. If anybody incites violence, that's bad. The rest, we'll give you a list. This is a list. If they do this, you'll be... I have a feeling my teenage niece knows more about that without having a guidance. It's embarrassing. Now, the bureaucratic pages will continue. Oh, this is the group where they're the ones who say Muslim armies, right? Was on the 18th of January, a couple of months ago, the government prescribed them, as it says, bad people. This group had been active in the UK, organising protests and rallies. The government prescribed this group on the 18th of January on the basis that they support terrorist organisations. And also, they're considered highly anti-Semitic. I love how there are levels of anti-Semitism. It's just low-level anti-Semitism. No, that's highly anti-Semitic. Wow. Okay. So, we'll get your reaction in the live chat in a second, by the way. There's a couple of more pages. They have actually included images for the police officers to... in case they don't know who they are. Who are you recruiting? How do they not know? Anyway, okay, I get it. They need to know. Fine. This is fine. They put the black flag as well. But they still don't know the difference between the flags. Anyway, the Muslim armies, banned. Good. The Houthi movement. They have to tell the police officers that the Houthis are bad guys. Oh. The Houthis are an armed group operating in Yemen. They just got it from Wikipedia. Where violent civil war has been raging for a decade. They are not prescribed, but their emblem has the potential to be seen in London. God is the greatest, death to America. So, be careful, guys. Obviously, worry about the far right, but the Houthis are coming too. Yeah. The police response. The following advice is for situations away from organized protests. There is a separate guidance for this. Oh, yeah. If you see crime at a protest and see crime across the road, you have to treat them differently, right? You need different guidance. For instance, if a person is waving a prescribed group's flag in a street or driving through an area, different guidance. If you see any of the prescribed groups' symbols and flags, you should immediately call your supervisor. As a police officer, you're right down the street, you see something bad happening, pick up the phone, call your supervisor instead of actually arresting them. After you have discussed and action is authorized, then you can engage the person and require name and address. There is no need to arrest unless Code G is met. You see the problem, right? Okay. The first few pages, which this whole thing, by the way, is supposed to be how for them to tackle the Islamist protests, right? That was the point of it. The first 2-3 pages was about talking about Islamophobia. It makes no sense. Having said that, then when they talk about the far right or Islamophobia, they say, oh no, these are all crimes, arrest them. When it comes to somebody actually, for example, having a flag of Hamas or whatever, when you see them as a police officer, call your supervisor, discuss it first, and then approach them. Just get their name. Don't arrest them. You must record this on BWV. There is a power to seize any item unless the clothing is next to the skin. You must use this power so we can investigate no matter what. You're going to get fingerprints or something. So embarrassing. And then, of course, all the other information that they have given. It's so embarrassing. This is what we're dealing with now. And that's why we have whistleblowers from the Metropolitan Police coming to Tousi TV to expose all this. And they have to be careful so that they don't really get recognized. So, of course, we're going to keep them anonymous. And we have all the information that we are releasing to you guys today. And the fact that people are now coming to Tousi TV instead of back in the day, traditionally you go to BBC Panorama or BBC Newsnight that will expose these things, but they won't these days. That's why people are now coming to me, to Tousi TV, to make sure we have a bigger exposure, bigger reach when it comes to across the world, across the country. And we have to talk about this. We can see the issue. At best, they are treating their own police officers as idiots. We're going to teach you how to walk, how to talk. And at worst, they are basically telling them, yeah, we're gonna tackle Islamism, but don't arrest anybody. Even if they're supporting terrorists, this is bad, extremely bad. First super chat there, Peter Green. Thank you very much for your support. I'm lost for words. I know. When I got this leaked document, I had to reread it about 4 times. It was unbelievable. The whole thing, it made no sense, considering the first few pages was actually about Islamophobia instead of actually tackling Islamism. They are worried about it. I'm proud to be English, and these protests and other flags being flown in my country are insulting to me. Where are my rights? They don't care. In fact, they would probably consider this comment as far right. Kate says, we are getting an Islamophobic czar. I think Islamophobia. Yeah, not Islamophobic. Islamophobia czar. And not an anti-Christian czar or an anti-Jewish czar. Yeah, I mean, we don't need that. Also, we're going to spend a lot of money on a new monument just for the Muslims. We already had a lot of monuments for everybody from Pakistan, India, and all the places who actually helped in the Second World War. But no, apparently that's not enough. Ian says, I saw a Facebook post earlier of 10 reasons why London is the best city in the world. I kid you not. It was number 1, the Metropolitan Police. Lord X says, if you type hate crime Met Police into Google and read what they define it as on their website and what, why and how you can get arrested, it's absolutely outrageous and disgusting. I mean, Tousi TV was reported recently, as we discussed this on this channel, for being politically incorrect. You get into trouble for that, but if you have the black flag of Islam, they're just going to come and have a chat with you after they talk to their supervisor. Robin says, you gotta laugh. The taxpayer is paying for this marshalling, so why isn't Sadiq Khan and the protest organisers not footing the bill? The bill so far is around £30 million. Actually, that reminds me, the rest of the discussion that I had with this whistleblower that gave us all this document was also the following. They said, we already have so many powers to stop these protests and these Islamists, but the higher ups, people at the top, are doing nothing about it. They continued by saying, clearly we are being controlled, the police are being controlled by Sadiq Khan and his selected group, who they're waiting, the whistleblower, for them to F up so that they can be exposed as well. They also said, I will provide you with more information from other matters, of course, and other issues as well. It is important for people to obviously keep an eye on those who really want to help the system, those who work inside the system, those who want to be whistleblowers, those who want to fight for the country. You have to respect them, you have to support them. And no, of course, not those who just want to bring down the system for the sake of it. That's treason, that's a bad idea. But those who want to make it better, of course. We got our favorite troll in the live chat, guys. This guy. Of course, Tousi believes in the woke myth. What is a woke myth? This is so sad. Alexa, play the country. Don't say that word because my Alexa's going to go off. I just said it again. What is a woke myth? I don't understand what that means. But if you are referring to the word woke, which obviously was created by the progressive liberals, because it means they are awakened to the injustices in the world. They believe that they are the ones who can see the inequality and injustices. That's the woke word that they created. They call themselves woke because they are woke, as they claim. And the Metropolitan Police, of course, they're also self-entitled, as usual. But they also call themselves, they are woke because they are trying to send the message to the world that they are very much aware of injustices and inequalities. That is the definition that they are using. And that is why we call them woke, to make fun of them because they're idiots. So if you clarify what you mean by woke myth, because the liberal progressives and the far left will be very offended if you say woke and wokeism is a myth, because they've been working very hard on this for decades and decades to make sure that you know they are awake, even though most of the time they're actually sleeping because they woke up late and they all smoke weed and everything else. But yeah. Woke myth. Anyway. Rob says fake woke more like. Yes. Tom McDonald. If you haven't listened to the song, go on YouTube afterwards and type in Tom McDonald fake woke. That's a good song. Got someone from Scotland who's supporting Trump. Scotland for Trump. He does have a nice golf course there. What else is going on? Look, these whistleblowers have hidden among this for money and done nothing. I do not want these cowards in the police. You do realize the salary for these junior police officers is nothing. They are making no money. So it's like those who are trying to bring down the credibility of Edward Snowden as a whistleblower. And obviously they're exposing all this stuff about the national security in America and everything else. And they're like, they're doing it for money. Right? So you want people to not be whistleblowers, but you want people to be whistleblowers. But when they become whistleblowers, you say they're doing it for money. And then when they're not doing it, they're cowards, they're not saying anything. But when they say something, you criticize them. It makes no sense. You have to support the whistleblowers who are actually exposing these documents and everything else. They have to stay inside to actually have the intel to be able to tell us what's going on. Because you cannot see from the outside. Money. Yeah, for the record, Tousi TV has not paid the whistleblower any money to get this information. Seriously, people. Anyway. Yeah, so that's the weirdest document I've seen from the Metropolitan Police in a long time, which will continue to expose this sort of behavior, these sort of images, where protesters are literally flying the black flag of Islam, and the police are just like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Call the supervisor. Arr. How many times do we have to go through the same thing over and over and over again? Charles White says, in response to the Muslim monument, where is the World War II monument for Catholics? But we're talking about a time when we did monuments and all this stuff, not based on people's skin color or religions back in the day. And now, somehow, we're doing it based on people being Muslim or whatever. It is weird. So Charles is right. What about the Catholics now? Should we just separate everybody, put them in different categories instead of actually treating everybody equally? Laurie says, hi Maya, well just read that there will be, yes, we talked about the Islamophobia czar. What the heck is going on? What about the British people who are scared and the Jewish, Sunak is a divider of this country, so sad. They are completely putting in people in different categories. I'm going to show you a post on X by the so-called Conservative Party. They've just posted that because obviously it's the International Women's Day, right? This is a post by the Conservative Party on Twitter or X, if you want to call it. Now, in order to pander to certain groups in society, political parties, mainstream parties, have to say these sort of nonsense. So, the Tories posted the picture of their female MPs saying, Conservatives are the party for women. Now, back in the day, when you have Margaret Thatcher and those guys, they're becoming, powerful and strong in the party, they would have hated all this nonsense. Now, you might even argue, okay, in the 90s and early 2000s, when there was an appetite from the political system to have more female MPs. Okay, cool. You want to do that? Do that. Then we have now a lot of female MPs, and there is no law stopping women from getting to politics, no obstacle. If you want to be a candidate, be a candidate, right? At this point, asking your female MPs as the Conservative Party to stand there in a group like the cattle and take pictures saying you are in one category, you are the women and the Tory party's party for women. If I were a woman, I would see this as very extremely patronizing and condescending in general in terms of behavior, and they're separating me from everybody else based on my gender. This is bad. It's no longer, if this was from 1998, 1999, the early days of Blair, that sort of virtue signaling to encourage women, they were like, well, I get it, this is the progressive movement, it's happening now, get used to it. It's 2024. Look how many MPs you have now. This is, by the way, it's a small chunk of the female Tory MPs. There's much more on that. And they still think they have to put women in a box, Close the category. Close the box. This is your cage. You are the women. And then men set different category, gays in a different category. Everybody will be in a different category. Segregation is the new policy going forward. Brian says, how about the monument for carrier pigeons and of course pack horses, guard dogs, everybody else that we use? I'm pretty sure there's a monument for a dog or something that was built. I think it was in England. Maybe it was Belgium, I don't know. There was a dog, actually. There was a monument for a dog, which was kind of funny. But that dog was very brave, apparently. But they did that back in the 50s or 60s. It was hilarious. Yeah. Enough monuments. Matty says, I'm a white nationalist, but you Tousi are a patriot. Well, I prefer if people are English nationalists or British nationalists or Welsh nationalists or Scottish rather than skin colour. But fair enough. Everyone has their own opinion. What else do we have? Ms. K says, as a woman, I'd rather ask a man for help than a woman. Women in power are 10 times worse than men and are just self-serving and catty as hell. There have been a lot of accusations against some of the female senior figures, whether it's as CEOs or leadership in politics, where the other women have always basically been criticizing them, saying they are holding us back. They're becoming bitchy and they're becoming a little bit insufferable. But again, there are also enough men who are also drama queens. So it's just a problem with the wrong people being at the top. That's the main thing. You're getting a wrong type of people, men and women, and they are completely causing chaos. Super chat, thank you very much. To police the crowd chanting "Death to Jews" is classified as classed as love speech. No, yeah, they don't really care about that apparently. Super chat from RS. Thank you so much for your support as well. We do live in a clown world right now, so I'm not really surprised about this leaked document. We've seen these sort of things before. The sad reality is, of course, that not enough people who work for the police are coming out to speak out. That's the problem. Why do we have to wait for one person to be a whistleblower? More people need to actually start speaking out. Even if that means they're going to have to quit or something. I don't know. Ideally, you want them to stay in and fix the system, but they don't really have any power. That's the problem. Let's go to the next chat. So in essence, the guidance is just to protect Muslim protesters' rights and liberties at the expense of the wider public. I was scared to see these Islamist masses marching through London. Yeah, I mean, you're right. In summary, the problem we have with this document is even when they talk about tackling the Islamist protests, they are initially talking about Islamophobia as a hate crime. Be careful when you go to these protests, you're not accidentally offending the protesters and the mob. Do they have the same document for when they go to, I don't know, police the imaginary far-right groups? I mean, even if there were some far-right groups, organized groups with millions of people coming on the streets, if the police were to police them, do you think the first couple of pages of the document will tell them, be careful, don't offend the feelings of the football hooligans? No, of course not. They will just arrest every single person and kettle them in. That's what they're going to say. You see the hypocrisy, of course. Anyway, today we have a number of videos to bring you guys. We're going to talk about the Welsh Labour government, Welsh so-called parliament. We're going to talk about the Republic of Ireland because they have changed their constitution. Oh, yes. And certain things have been banned. Oh, yeah. The Republic of Ireland. And we're going to talk about Ofcom. We're going to talk about Dan Wootton, who will be addressing, by the way, because obviously I had a chat with Dan Wootton recently, and a lot of people are still wondering, is he going to address the issue with that he had with Johnny Depp? And he will be addressing that. So, of course, time to change. Redemption is needed in life. And Dan, obviously, now knows more about what's happened. Anyway, we're going to talk about all that, but this is actually about the Daily Mirror apologizing to Dan Wootton. He's going after every single person and entity that accused him of something that he didn't do. And don't forget, don't go anywhere, because I forgot to do a plug-in. Book your tickets. 5 days to go. 400,000 subscribers party, Tousi TV, in Manchester. on the 13th of March, 7 p.m. Book your tickets now, and I will see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.